got it.
Cold open question of the week, Gary.
Yes, sir.
When they make the movie about your life,
Mm-hmm.
what song has to be on the soundtrack?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh man. I don't know. I don't have one for that. To tell you the truth.
You don't have a song that sums up your life or something like that?
No. Not that I can think of right now.
There's not an Elton John song? An Elton John song?
Holiday Inn, man. Elton John.
Yeah.
Come on, that's the song.
I do love some Elton. Mumford and Sons. I love Mumford and Sons too. So I mean, maybe something from them. I can't think of anything right now, but yeah, I'm lost for words here.
All right. Let's start the show then. Tonight on the Brian Lennon Show, it's the one about extra bacon with Izzy Miller. Tonight on the Brian Lennon Show on Substack.com. All right, so welcome into another episode of the Brian Lennon Show on Substack. My name is Brian Lennon. I'm your host, along with my co-host, Gary McDaniel.
Yep.
Hello, Gary. It's a podcast.
Hello.
Hello. And tonight we're joined by a very special guest. He is a national recording artist from North Alabama. His name is Izzy Miller, and his latest album, Izzy Miller Sings Extra Bacon and Other Chart-Topping Hits, will be streaming everywhere starting on Friday, February 17th. So I want to welcome in the one and only Izzy Miller. Hi, Izzy.
How are y'all doing tonight? Brian
Good.
and Gary, how are y'all doing?
Good.
We're doing well. So thank you for taking the time out to join us tonight to discuss music as well as your latest effort.
Well, first off, I just want to say I'm disappointed in Gary already. He should be more familiar with Elton's back catalog than to go, well, I like Mumford and Sons.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed in that. It's all downhill from here, right?
Uh-huh.
Oh, you give it to him, Izzy.
Yeah. That's
Oh, man, I'm just kidding.
my bad.
Holiday Inn, man, off Madman Across the Water. That's the song about my life. That'd be the Elton song. Holiday Inn. Great tune.
No, I'm not familiar with that, so I will have to write that down and check it out.
Yeah.
So speaking of Holiday Inns, Izzy, you spent the weekend in Orlando.
I did.
At a guitar expo. Tell us a little bit about what goes on at that.
My day job is I deal in vintage guitars and day job. And we were down there for a trade show. We do a lot of the major guitar shows in the country. Asheville's coming up, and Orlando we were at, and the Nashville show's coming up in a few weeks. So you got to buy, sell, and trade guitars, but that's how I keep the lights on, as you can see behind me, which are on.
That's what you want.
Exactly.
Now I read somewhere you own you own a guitar shop.
I do.
Like
I run a shop.
Vintage guitar shop.
Vintage guitars.
Okay.
That's cool.
I read somewhere online that you own about 100 vintage guitars. Is that just your personal collection or as part of the business?
My personal collection, I don't know how many are there. It probably ranges 100, 110 or so. In the shop, we usually have a few hundred instruments listed at any given time. But my personal collection, I've kind of cherry picked stuff over the years. So whenever you see us playing in videos or anything like that, there's usually some kind of cool vintage piece that I'm playing. I don't play real good, so I have to own cool gear. No woman's ever said she wouldn't go home with me because my guitar playing was bad. You got to look cool, man. You always got to look cool.
Yep, exactly.
the guitarist and the lead singer, they always get the chicks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And no one cares about the bass. I've been the bass player before. No one cares.
Now, I did see a video of you performing on another podcast where you
I'm
have, I
sorry.
think I think it was called it was a Gibson, a U. It has like,
Oh, the
it's a
harp.
guitar with like a harp attached to the top.
Yeah, that's a Gibson style U harp guitar that was built round about from 1902. Orville Gibson, before the company was incorporated, built them. A few examples. Then Gibson, it was actually a model that Gibson offered until around the third. It disappeared from the catalog in the 30s, but it really fell out of favor in the 20s. You don't see a lot after them. But they offered it for a long time, and it's got. They built several different models, but it goes anywhere from 10 to, I believe, 16 sub bass strings. It's the guitar for the guitar player with no friends. They basically built it so you could accompany yourself. It's tuned chromatically, so you can hit the bass notes and accompany yourself on the instrument. And Gibson literature at the time introduced it as something that was going to. They compared it to the harpsichord versus the piano. So they went, just as the piano put the harpsichord out of business, so will the harp guitar to the regular guitar. And spoiler alert, it didn't work out quite like that.
Not yet, at least.
Not, they were a little ahead of they were about 130 years ahead of the game. But they're very fun instruments, and if an idiot like me can play them, anyone can.
Well, I'd never seen anything like that before, so I was intrigued and wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah, they built them. They're out there. I'm really fond of early Gibson stuff. So I own the Style U, which is the harp guitar, the Style J, which is the Mando bass, which is a ridiculous instrument. I mean, it's estimated that a few dozen of them or so survived. They were very cumbersome. It's just a giant, 5-foot tall mandolin, basically, with four. It was the world's first fretted bass guitar that was commercially produced. And I own the O, which is the 6-string version of the U without the harp extension. And they're wild instruments. All the scrolls and everything, they're very wild instruments.
Cool. Now, as far as like the vintage guitar market goes, how has the market been the last few years? Was it impacted by COVID at all? Is there, high demand right now for?
There's very low. Well, that's a loaded question. COVID, like every market, the guitar market went up. Everything used and vintage went up anywhere between 50 and 200%. Just like used cars, just like guns, just like cars, anything, vintage cars. And right now the market's rapidly cooling off, just like all of them are. I think there's been 50,000 or so layoffs announced since January 1st between Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook. Bed Bath & Beyond's closing 150 stores. So what we're looking at right now, from a financial standpoint and an economic standpoint, is everyone that was hired for COVID demand is now being laid off because the COVID demand is gone. It was to be quite frank, it was bullshit. The entire time. It was always going to end, and no one saw it coming to an end, just like they do every bubble. And now I just got back from Orlando, and I was watching dealers pay last year retail for stuff for guitars that are no longer. I own a 62 Jazzmaster. It's a really good example. Slab board guitar, CBS Fender. If anyone listening knows guitars, they'll know what that means. That guitar pre-COVID was worth about $6,000. During COVID, it was worth about $12,000. Nowadays, you'd struggle to get $10,000 out of it. So the market's rapidly cooling down. As the market just, if you're into cars, look at Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist. You're starting to see a lot of stuff come out of the woods. No one really needs money yet, but they're certainly starting to feel the squeeze, and I am too. I mean, it's not limited anywhere. I think everybody is kind of going. Eggs are $7.50 a dozen. Gas is creeping back up. Inflation's just, your same grocery trip 2 years ago is running 150% of what it did then. And your average American doesn't go by the stock market. They don't go by the they don't go by any of that. They go by, what they're feeling in their pockets, and we're all feeling that, I feel like, at this point. And that's not going to get better anytime soon.
No.
I agree with that. All right, now let's talk a little bit about the new album coming out.
Sure.
It's a would it be fair to say it's a country album?
Absolutely.
Okay, and I've read this is kind of the album you've always wanted to make. So tell us a little bit about kind of the inspiration behind making this album and kind of why it's been your pet project.
When I was growing up, I played country music with my family. My uncles all played. My grandfather played. My dad played. So I grew up around a lot of country music, bluegrass, that kind of stuff. And when we started, I didn't have plans to make a record. I'm really weird about the music business. I don't like it. I think it's pretty much evil. It's a really dark and depraved kind of thing. But my last record was titled Life on the 1 and 3. And I was dating a stripper, classic story.
Mm-hmm.
And it went poorly, adding to the classic story. And at the time I was pretty bottomed out, and I wrote a record about it. And that was Life on the 1 and 3. That was my last album. And I really didn't have plans. Recently, there was I brought it up in an interview before this. There's a Springsteen interview on Howard Stern where he talks about that he won't write for years. Nothing will hit him for years, and all of a sudden there's a bunch of stuff there. And that's kind of how I am. I don't understand. A lot of modern musicians go to so-called writing sessions, and that is just foreign to me. Like, I don't understand it at all. How can you go to an appointment like you're going to lunch to write a song? Harlan Howard, the famous country music songwriter, once said, country music is 3 chords and the truth. How can you find the truth on your lunch break?
Okay.
And
so was there a particular event or something particular that happened to you that kind of gave you the creative juices for this album?
it was odd. I didn't plan on doing anything. I didn't plan on cutting a record. And I was over at a friend of mine, Ben Kendall's, and his now wife, Katie Kendall's house one evening. And our pal James Fall was there. And we started just picking around. And I'd been listening to a ton of the Louvin Brothers, which they have a very famous album called Satan is Real. And I'm not religious. I don't do any of that stuff. Organized religion kind of creeps me out. I got really into Scientology one summer. There's more to that story. We won't touch on that now, but Tom Cruise doesn't go to your church. But I figured I'd get a laugh. But I'm not very religious, but the Louvin Brothers are from Sand Mountain, Alabama, probably about 60 miles from where I'm at right now. And they have this album called Satan is Real. It was cut in 59, and they were up to heathen shit, And they cut this excellent record, and I was listening to it just nonstop for about a month, just constantly. And I mean, it just touches on everything. You don't have to be religious to have a religious experience from that record. I suggest anyone listening right now go listen to it. Stop listening to this and go listen to that. No offense to you guys, but it's more important than us. This is bigger than us.
All right. Well, I've written it down, so I'll probably listen to it tonight.
But I was listening to it constantly, and it really incorporates bluegrass, rockabilly, early rock and roll music, country music, and just incredible harmonies. And it's not totally about religion. It's deeper than that. But I was listening to that constantly, and we got together one night, and all of a sudden we wrote this song called Sweet Revenge, which is on the record, which there's not enough good murder suicide songs these days, I don't think. So we covered that, and we wrote 3 songs that night. We wrote a song called Sweet Revenge, which was very much inspired by listening to those Louvin Brothers records. A song called Her Memory, which is just absolutely beautiful. There's a really pretty background vocal thing on the record, which was influenced kind of by the Browns, 3 Bells, all that kind of stuff. And we wrote a song called Extra Bacon, which was based on me and James were at a Waffle House one morning. And I got to chatting up the waitress, and she gave us extra bacon. She brought the plate out, and there's just a ton of bacon on the plate. You get, I think you get 3 slices with an order, but she gave us a lot more than that.
Nice.
And we wrote that. So that's how the record started. We wrote 3 songs in one night. I think we've got something. Let's keep writing. And we ended up writing all the songs for the record. And it was a great situation, really. And we got to cut this. This is the record I've always dreamed of making. Let's go into the studio and do it. And that's how
awesome.
we did it.
That's awesome. Now, so they're all original songs? Because the title would make one believe that they're, and other chart-topping hits. This is foreshadowing the
don't
title.
Look it up. They were all chart toppers. You gotta trust me on that. Don't Google it.
But so they are all original works?
They are. I co-wrote or wrote all the songs on the record except for one, which is called Roll to the Bottom, which was written by my friend Shane Davis.
Okay.
He talks about getting stoned and everything during that. I don't know what he's talking about. I don't do those kind of things. I'm not a sinner, but Gary looks like he's already been partaking tonight. I see those lights.
A little bit.
He might have had a few edibles. I don't know.
Allegedly.
Exactly.
Where are y'all
from? I'm located in Northeast Pennsylvania, right outside of Scranton. And
I live right outside of Tampa, Florida.
I was down in Orlando last week.
But Orlando's about an hour from where I'm at. So
yeah, we were practically neighbors.
Yep, exactly.
Now I saw the
Yankee thing against Brian.
Yep, exactly.
Now I saw the picture of Nipper. You want to explain to listeners who may be following you on Instagram or Facebook who or what Nipper is?
So I collect a lot of advertising stuff. You can see a lot of stuff in the background. There's a Pepsi. Mm-hmm. My house I'm at my condo now. It looks like a Cracker Barrel. The chicks dig it, but antiques and more. I'm really into advertising stuff, and I've always wanted. RCA and General Electric made a version of Nipper that was for display that was 36 inches, 3 feet tall. So he's cumbersome. And I'd always wanted one, and you see them pop up online occasionally, but then you got to ship them. That's a whole pain. And we were at the guitar show, and a guy walked in with the 3 foot tall Nipper and put it on his table. And I somehow missed it. My buddy pointed it out. I just turned around. He was there. So I went and sat in the guy's booth until he came back. I was there for about 20 minutes. And we made a deal, and I brought Nipper home. But he's probably early 70s RCA, but he's the big Nipper instead of the Big Dipper, I guess. But we immediately started having fun with him. We did a big thing online where he's checking into the hotel and taking a shower, and we had his hair done up. It was a lot of fun. We laughed a lot that night. But he's the RCA dog. A friend of ours came up who's a little bit younger, and he went, "Man, is that the Budweiser dog?" It's not damn Spuds McKenzie.
Now tell us a little bit about the recording process for the album. I saw it was were all the songs recorded in Silver Fox Sounds?
Yes. We went to tour. When I started working on this project, I immediately knew that we had to make it right. We had to do it right. And the whole idea behind the record was to record something that sounded like I was growing up playing, where it was just a jam session. We basically gave everybody free reign to do what they wanted to do. If you feel like doing this here, do it. I'm the artist, very, very biased towards my own taste, as most people are. What you drinking there?
This is just iced tea.
I don't believe that.
Turkey Hill iced tea.
Poor Gary is over there drooling on himself. But no, we toured studios, and we started at the first studio, which was Silver Fox Sound with Robert Fox, the basic goal was to find a good studio and an engineer who was very capable of doing what they needed to do. And we met with Robert and we talked for probably about an hour or so at his studio. And we toured one studio and that was over. I knew exactly where we needed to be, and that was with Robert at Silver Fox Sound. I couldn't have made this record. I was going through there were some personnel changes during the record. I went through some pretty significant life changes during the record, and Robert was very much the lighthouse that brought it all in. I don't think we couldn't have made it without Robert. The record wouldn't have got done. That sounded
Where
like
was
something
that?
I've done before.
Oh, maybe. I don't know if Gary's playing with the controls over there.
I hit a wrong button.
He passed
Okay.
out on the keyboard.
Hit the
All
wrong
right.
button.
So, tell us a little bit.
Brush that off. All right.
Tell us a little bit about kind of the backing band, the personnel that helped you put the songs together. How was that process?
I couldn't have done this without our team. Our team was incredible. Anchored by Robert Fox, who ended up being a producer on the record alongside me. Shane Davis, who's an excellent songwriter who has his own group called the Shane Davis Group, co-wrote several tunes with me. Ben Kendall, who's in the Shane Davis Group, which I was in for a while, co-wrote a few tunes. His wife, Katie Milliken, James Fall, who was a co-writer. That was the core songwriting team. Then on the record, we have Jacob Green on upright bass. All the bass tracks are double bass. James Irvin, who plays with Jason D. Williams and has his own thing solo, the James Allen Irvin thing. And he also plays with a band called The Nerve, which are excellent. If you're listening, check those guys out. Jacob Green also plays with the Silver Silos, and he and his wife have a book business. They sell books, Green's Books. I'd like to give them a shout out too, because man, they're great. They're doing a really cool thing with that. Joey Huffman, who's my longtime best friend, and we call him the Forrest Gump of rock and roll, the human rain delay himself, Mr. Joey Huffman, plays on piano, and I can tell you all kinds of good Joey stories. He has a book coming out in April that I'm included in. I was really concerned about, to be honest. When he talked about writing it, I went, man, am I going to need a lawyer? And he went, no, you'll probably be all right. And I was
Do you have
honored.
your own chapter?
Yeah, I'm in the book several times. Joey had a brain tumor, and I had to take him Christmas shopping. That's in there. And I was honored. He asked me to write the foreword for his book, and I obliged. So now I'm a famous author, I guess. Or I will be soon.
Published author as well, yes.
There you go.
And Mike Daly, who plays steel guitar. Mike was with Hank Jr. when I toured with Hank Jr. And Mike Daly is one of the greatest steel guitar players on the planet. Played with Travis Tritt. He was in a ton of stuff in the 90s. Man, Mike is great. When Mike, we sent the tracks to Mike. Mike overdubbed his stuff. And he went, what do you want me to do? And I went, man, just do what you want to do, because I trust you. Just anything you feel like doing, do it. And I'd say 90% of what Mike sent us back is on the record. Also, Brian Dawson, who was my longtime guitar tech, plays on the title track, Extra Bacon, plays a really cool lead guitar track. That's him on the Telecaster on that. I think that's everybody. I don't want to miss out on anyone. So, I had to play the mandolin, and I'm not a mandolin player.
So you had a pretty big, lot of different artists. So it seems like it's a pretty big project.
We had a great team, man. I couldn't have done it. It's especially without Robert, man. We never would have got the record done without Robert.
I'm currently reading a book by Rick Rubin, the legendary producer, and it's all about creativity. So, I was very interested to talk to you to kind of understand, the creative process, and especially for a musician, that's kind of been something that always fascinated me, how artists create, especially like in the studio, that aspect of it.
It's odd. There was a recent Rick Rubin interview a few weeks ago where he was talking about having no musical ability. He doesn't even know how to run the console.
Yes.
And I thought that was great. Rick Rubin doesn't get paid to run the console. He gets paid for his taste. He knows what he likes. and it works. I'm really into country music, as you can probably guess. Spoiler alert. I like country music. And like Johnny Cash, man, in the 80s, Johnny Cash was a joke. And that's sad to say, but it's true. Columbia Records gets a lot of flack for dropping Johnny Cash in the 80s, but man, Johnny was in bad shape musically, and you can't blame him for that. But Rick comes along and goes, man, I see something here. Let's rein this in and let's get it right. And Rick is just a genius, if for nothing else, the Johnny Cash American Recordings, series of records.
Right.
Rick's the genius. He went, just play your acoustic guitar and sing some songs. That's exactly what Johnny needed to hear at the time.
Yeah, it was kind of like what you mentioned earlier, just 3 chords and tell the truth.
And the truth.
Yeah. Or even for a writer, they say, open up a vein and bleed.
Yeah, well, it's everybody always goes when you're down and out, and I've been down and out a time or two in my life. They always go, when you go up to a comedian, you think of something funny, you go, man, I got a joke for you. You're gonna love this. You can put it in your act. They love that. Do it all the time. But Gary gets it.
Exactly.
But songwriters are a weird breed, and everybody always does the same thing to us. They go, oh, you're feeling down and out, you're depressed, boo-hoo, you should write a song about it. Fuck it, man, I'd rather have the serotonin, I don't really need the song. So I always get weird about that, but I don't know if I can curse on this here family program. But
no, you can curse, you're fine.
You're good.
Oh, good, because I've already broken the rule a few times. Should have asked that in advance.
Now I want to ask you, like, specifically, and you kind of already touched on it, listening to your songs, because I've been listening, in preparation for, interviewing you. Your stories seem very personal and realistic. Like, this stuff has happened to you.
They are. I've never cut a song that I didn't live. And it goes back to the 3 chords of truth thing, man. No one tells you when you're young that you don't have to live like your idols, and all my idols were pretty messed up. So you fall into a pattern of that, and I had a drinking problem for many years, and stuff like that. But I lived it, and that's not good. I'm not proud of it, but I've been there. There's an artist. We're actually going up to Bristol this weekend to do a TV show up there. That a man named Sonny Tackett runs. And Sonny was a co-writer with a man named Gary Stewart. It all ties in together. But Gary is the most underrated country singer of all time. His big hit, of course, was She's Acting Single, I'm Drinking Doubles, which is genius. Written by a man named Wayne Carson. But Gary had a bunch of just great stuff. And there was this weird period in country music in the 70s where it hadn't, that Eagles thing hadn't quite hit, where country rock, and it didn't quite mesh real quick. You had a lot of artists that were too country for rock and too rock for country. And Gary falls into that category very much so. But that stuff's amazing. Real emotion shows through in music, and stuff like those Gary Stewart records, man. If you're feeling down and out, they're not going to make you feel better. Country singers aren't there to make you feel better. And I think that's where the genres went wrong. It doesn't relate to people. You need someone who will get down in the ditch with you. You don't need someone to make you necessarily feel better. Artists can't always give you what you want, but a true artist gives you what you need. And I'm not calling myself a true artist or anything like that. I think there's people much better than me out there that do that. But you don't, you can't give the public what they want. You give them what you need. And it all goes back to Harlan Howard's quote about 3 chords and the truth. It all goes back to that.
Yeah. Now, the other thing, listening to your music, it has that sort of vintage country music sound, which we kind of lost, probably starting in the late 80s, definitely in the 90s. Um, who were kind of your influences, and not to shit on the current state of country music, but
Let's shit on 'em.
maybe you but maybe you could talk a little bit about kind of where you see your new album fitting into the the range of country music, if you will.
Well, let's start here. Country music's gone to hell. It's a shit show, and fuck them all.
All right, so I was
Start
right.
with that. No, you're dead right. Let's shit.
Let's shit on it, because I have friends who are country music fans, but they are looking, I think, for the music that you're making, as opposed to what the commercial
It's out there now.
pop country is putting out.
Let me just start by saying this. I will never down the hustle. If someone went, we'll pay you $1 million to cut this song about taking a girl and painted on jeans out to the lake, I'd do it. Show me the money. I think the wise prophet Tom Cruise said in Jerry Maguire, I think he said, show me the money.
Show me the money.
Yep.
So I'm not going to down the hustle. These guys are making millions of dollars doing that, but it's all bullshit. And I think it's terrible and I hate it. I think it's a shame what radio in general has become, not just country radio. And I'm probably going to, I might rub some people the wrong way on this, but fuck them. They're all idiots. They fucked up everything and fuck them. I think it's a shame. I don't think you hear, there's an excellent TNN interview with Gary Stewart, actually. And it's a Where Are They Now thing that they're doing. And Gary says something to the effect, and I'm paraphrasing here, I'm not going to get it all right. But Gary Stewart says something to the effect of, I understand it's a business, but how much of a business do you have to make out of it? You have radio, everything went to shit after 9/11. That's kind of the tipping point. I talked about this a few weeks ago on the Guitar Gavel podcast. Right after 9/11, everything turns corporate. People are scared of what to do. Country music gets way too patriotic. Listen to and there's a great example of that. Listen to Toby Keith's Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue, and you're just like, Jesus, man, it's not a bad song, but it's just too much. And then you listen to Brooks and Dunn's Only in America, which came out a few months before 9/11, and it holds up really well. And it's because it hadn't hit that really big patriotic, we got to kick ass stride. It's just, we're proud to be Americans. My favorite movie is Smokey and the Bandit, which, it's everybody's favorite movie. Yeah. Let's be real. And the reason I like it so much is it's just everybody from every race and creed and gender and everybody is included in it, which is incredible because it was filmed in 1976. It's
a good year, by the way.
They're all coming together to fight the man. And I always cry. It's the only movie that makes me cry. And I'm not doing a bit right now. I'm not joking. During the convoy scene when Jerry Reed's passing by and waving at everybody, it gets me every time. It's just everybody's coming together because we got to take down the man. And that the country music's no longer about, it was always about taking down the man. It's always about that. The country stars, rock stars were a danger to themselves. Country music stars were a danger to the general public. And it's not like that anymore. It's all bubblegum bullshit. And damn, Luke, that Nashville, I live 80 miles south of Nashville. It's a shithole. You can quote me on it. I hope they print it on the front of the paper. Because number one, I could really use the publicity. Number two, I want them to know, and I feel like I should be the one to tell them. It's just a shithole. Nashville would bulldoze the Ryman Auditorium tonight if some pop country fucker would say that they built a bar there. They've been trying to bulldoze Music Row and RCA Studios for years. Poor Nipper doesn't even have a place to live anymore.
Wow.
Dave Matthews saved the studio.
That's crazy.
Okay. I was going to ask you about Nashville. Obviously, you've expressed your displeasure with the city overall. Do you feel like it seems like you maybe don't feel there's a place for you and your type of country music there, but is there something, where that is the capital, I guess, of country music that you feel maybe, you have to go there at some point?
No, absolutely not.
No.
I don't care if this record sells 5 copies. That's not why I made the record. I've said multiple times, I haven't said this publicly yet, but I've said multiple times, I told Robert, I told Shane, who was the original producer, and like I said, we had some personnel changes, there were some falling outs there, and I don't really know what happened. But I'm not here to make a hit record. I would like to have, I've had 2 charting hits, and I would like to have a third because I'm too close to 1 hit, you know. So 3, that's a trend.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I wouldn't mind having it, but I didn't make this record to be successful. I don't care if it sells 2 copies. I just don't. I wanted to make the record that I've always wanted to make, and if there's an audience for it, and I think there is, I hope they really enjoy it, and I hope it gives them something to hold on to, and I hope they know that someone's feeling like they are, because like I said, every word on the record's true. But more so, you know, I don't need to be accepted by the mainstream. I've got 2 charting hits. I'm okay. That's all. I never thought I'd have that much validation, you know, growing up. So I'm fine. Also, please buy my record. I really need it to be a success. So if you're listening, I'm not a proud man.
Now, Izzy, I want to ask you, for like the spring and summer coming up, are you going to be touring to support the album? Do you have any plans to be on the road? You're going to head up to Northeast Pennsylvania, Yankee country, to play us some, you know what they say about Pennsylvania, Izzy?
What's that?
They say it's Pittsburgh on one end, Philadelphia on the other, with Alabama in the middle.
Well, you know, that's hilarious. And I always use the example of New York. People, when you think New York, what do you think of?
New York City.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. You know what else New York has? Nothing.
Buffalo.
There's Albany. The rest of it is hillbillies.
Yep.
Yes.
And I learned that when touring with Hank. You know, we'd be in the South, and you know the audiences would be really into it, and then we'd go up north, and man, they go wild. There's more hillbillies up north than there's ever been in the South. Look where David Allen Coe and Johnny Paycheck aren't from Tennessee; they're from Ohio, man.
Yeah. Yeah, Pennsylvania has, I mean, there's a big country music following in Pennsylvania. And I know, like you're saying, upstate New York, as we refer to it, you know, it's just basically country up there.
You know how a friend told me a joke the other day. I'm in Alabama, so you know, we get joked on a lot. And I live in Huntsville with all the rocket surgeons and stuff. I've been trying to let them to get me a light to fuse on the rocket, and they won't let me do it. But you know, my friend told me a joke the other day, and it's, how do you know the toothbrush wasn't invented in Alabama?
How?
Because if it was invented anywhere else, it'd be called a teeth brush.
It's a good one.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
Now, Izzy, is there any auto tune on the new album?
Absolutely not. No, I'm not a good singer. I'm the first one to admit that. It's just my hillbilly charm that drags me through. But no, there's really no effects on the new record. There's some compression and stuff like that, you know, typical studio stuff. But I like my vocal tracks very dry, and I kind of learned that from Hank. If you listen to the Hank records, man, there's nothing on his vocals. And I don't like a lot of stuff on my vocals. Anytime I cut a record, they always send me the first mix. I've got a ton of effects on my vocals. There's a lot of reverb and the room and stuff like that. And I hate that. I like my vocals really dry. And I kind of got a lot of shit for that, to be honest. Friends were listening to the record. They went, man, your vocals are dry. And that's how they should be. You don't need a lot on your vocals, you know, if you feel it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't like a lot of effects on anything, really. I like the band to sound like when we were cutting the new record, like I was saying earlier, I wanted it to sound like a living room jam session, because that's how I grew up playing. You know, the uncles would grab guitars, my grandfather would grab a guitar, my dad would grab a guitar, and they just play in the living room. And I really wanted it to feel like that. I didn't want it to feel like we were in a studio, because we were in a studio, but I'm telling you, everybody played exactly what they wanted to do. I don't think I gave Joey one note, I think, on one song. And to be honest, I think it was Back to Basics. I think it's the opening track. And he was just playing a little too honky tonk. And I went, kind of open it up a little bit. But honestly, I think that's the one note. When Brian Dawson came in to cut the lead guitar on Extra Bacon, I just went, play what you feel, man. And that's what you hear on the record. It's pretty much, I think he did 3 takes before he kind of got it where he wanted it. But there's little accent chords in the verses. And he just kind of goes crazy. And then in the solo, the entire band just overplays. Like the bass player goes in, the drummer goes in, James and Jacob go in, and then Brian goes in, and it's everybody in the room's overplaying. But it really works, because if you're playing in someone's living room, that's probably how it would go, because you feel it like that. Yep. That's how it should be. I like that. I think the record's really authentic. Everybody kind of says that, but I truly feel like the record's really authentic.
Yeah, well, like I said, listening to your music, this last week in preparation for the interview, that's what I got. It was very, realistic and authentic. And then you just explaining with your vocals how you don't like the effects. I think that lends to, the listener really feeling what you're singing about has happened to you. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to hearing the new stuff.
We're really looking forward to getting it out. Really looking forward to getting it out. I'm very excited about it. We got 10 days from today, which when this airs Wednesday, if I'm right.
Right.
I saw your Instagram post. I follow you. So I guess is it this Wednesday? Is it tomorrow?
Yep. Tomorrow it'll be hitting the airwaves.
We're confusing the hell out of the listener right now. They're listening going, it's airing tomorrow. Time's a construct.
But I'm listening to it today.
No, so before, when I did click, that was your Mr. TV Man.
Mr. TV Man.
That was the song that I was listening to earlier. That when I hit the button, I was like, "Oh shoot!" So
he was
ask
right.
Me about
it was
Mr.
something.
TV Man.
It was your.
Y'all think I have a rant about country music? Ask me about Mr. TV Man.
You know what? It's funny is listening to the other songs, and then when I clicked that one and I was listening to, I'm like, man, this sounds something. I'm like, this sounds like an old school, like 70s like song. But I really enjoyed it. I'm like, well, I like this. I'm like, but I mean, I liked all the other ones too, but this one, it just had a different feel to it. And I don't know what it was, but I kind of dug that one.
Yeah, the American Times record's very garage rock, very 60s, 70s garage rock. Ask me about TV Man. I'm dying to tell you how I feel.
Gary, ask this man the question.
All right. So what is all about TV Man?
I think, and this is gonna be a similar rant to Nashville, which y'all seem to try to get me off of pretty quickly. But let me say, the views that I have are my own. They're not Brian and Gary's. They might feel differently. They might not. I can't say for sure. But take you a swig. But TV Man, we wrote that as to be tongue in cheek. And when we were in the studio, I don't know if I made everybody mad or if everybody kind of accepted, but in the last verse, I rip on all. I think I rip on all of them. I mention all of them on every spectrum. And I fuck the news, man. All of them. People go, we got to watch Fox. That's the real news. You got to watch CNN. That's the real news. Fuck all of them. None of them have your best interest at heart. And I think that's, in this country, we've gotten so polarized because it's just, you've got 10% of idiots on each side going, this is the way. You've got 80% of, real Americans who go, fuck off.
Amen.
So if you watch Fox News religiously, you're probably a fucking idiot. If you watch CNN religiously and you believe everything they say, you're probably a fucking idiot. None of them care about you. They're all biased. there's not an unbiased news source. There's not. And 50 years ago, there were. And I think that's another thing. And it goes the way of the DJ. There's no such thing as a radio DJ anymore.
Nope.
It's all went to podcast.
Yep.
If you want real stuff, listen to podcast.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be on FM radio anymore saying how you feel. All your corporations and everything have truly taken that away. They've taken away the freedom of speech out of radio, not necessarily the freedom of speech. That might be a slight exaggeration, but they've taken away the humanity of it. And I think that's sad. And I think every damn news channel in America should be shut down. Not on one side, not on the other, all of them. I think if you turn off the news, I think you'd be a much better person.
Mm-hmm.
I try to watch less news. I try to watch less TV and read more.
I stay totally withdrawn from the news. This whole thing in Memphis where those cops absolutely murdered that guy. I didn't even know about that. I mean, I stay so withdrawn from the news, and a friend was telling me about it. I was reading up on it. It's just, Jesus Christ, man, talk about something. But I don't watch the news anymore. I can't do it. I don't have cable. I stay logged into my Facebook page where I follow music blogs. I don't follow anybody.
Right.
I don't follow any news source. I don't follow any of that stuff.
Mm-mm.
And I think I don't want to say ignorance is bliss, because I think you should probably be aware of what's going on, because they're always out. It's not what if they're watching? It's a trick question. They're always watching. But I just think I don't know, man. It's gotten so withdrawn from reality.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think any of them are looking out for anyone anymore, and I think that's very sad.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
But that's what Mr. TV Man's about. We wrote it tongue in cheek, and then I was in the studio and I went, "Fuck them." Then the final verse, I think I call out, was it CNN, Fox, and NBC? I didn't have time to do any more, but if I had another verse, I would have called out a few more.
A few more letters.
ABC, I'm looking at you.
Yep, there you go.
All right, we're going to get to Gary's News of the Weird, Izzy, but before
Let's
that, just tell us if you want to give us some plugs, and we'll do more plugs at the end, but where are listeners going to be able to hear the new album, Extra Bacon?
Spotify, Amazon, Apple Music, Napster, Pandora, Pornhub, I think.
Nice.
TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, anywhere you can stream it, especially Pornhub.
Can't wait to see that.
Sweet.
Trust me, you can.
Izzy's Instagram is at the Izzy Miller, and his Facebook
There's only
page.
one day.
His Facebook page is facebook.com/Izzy Miller Official. So you can check all those out. I will also have a link to his Spotify page in the show notes on Wednesday, today, tomorrow, whatever day it is.
Mm-hmm.
Time's a construct. It doesn't exist.
Whatever time you want it, whatever day you want it to be.
I think the wise prophet Alan Jackson and Jimmy Buffett once said, "It's 5 o'clock somewhere."
Somewhere. No truer words were ever spoken.
So true.
All right, let's go to News of the Weird.
News of the weird.
And now it's time for News of the Weird with your host, Gary McDaniel. And we're going to go live to the Tampa newsroom where we have Gary McDaniel standing by. Gary, what's news?
Yes, sir. All right. Florida man charged with battery after slapping police horse's butt. A Florida man
slapping
has
what?
been arrested of police horse's butt.
Oh.
A Florida man has been arrested and charged with a misdemeanor after he slapped a police horse's butt. According to police in St. Petersburg, 27-year-old Alicia Lalani, which is weird. It's sounds like a girl's name, but whatever, was charged with battery on a police horse after he slapped a police horse's butt with an open hand around 2 a.m. on Saturday. 2 officers were patrolling the area on horseback when they noticed the man approach them with one arm raised. He was promptly arrested after striking the animal. Evidence indicated that he wasn't under the influence of alcohol or drugs when he slapped the horses behind. The defendant walked up behind my partner, who was also riding a police horse. I observed the defendant then, with his open hand, slap the rear of my partner's police horse. The arrest report states, per the Miami Herald, the defendant immediately looked at officers and stated that he didn't know he wasn't allowed to hit the horses. Battery on a police horse is a first-degree misdemeanor. A similar incident with another Florida man happened in 2017 when a 29-year-old man slapped a horse on the butt and attempted to flee the scene. While this is certainly one of the stranger Florida man stories in recent months, it's by no means the only one to involve the harassment of an animal. Earlier this month, it was reported that 36-year-old Chad Mason was arrested on charges including sexual activity with an animal after he had sex with a dog in front of people and then damaged a church nativity scene.
Oh man, I didn't want to be part of any of this. Okay, hold up. What's the first guy's name?
The first guy's name was
Alicia
Lalani.
Man, he was just vibing. He doesn't need to be in jail. He was just doing something stupid. I say free my boy.
That's it.
The second guy, what was the second guy?
Chad Mason.
Chad Mason, I don't know what they really need to do to him, but he shouldn't probably be out.
Yeah, no.
My first guy, I say let him go, though. You got to let him go.
Yeah. Just a little goof.
Yeah, I don't think
smacking a horse. Not a big deal.
Tim McGraw and Kenny Chesney got arrested I think it was in New York City for they borrowed a police horse.
Oh, jeez.
That was, I can't remember what year that was, but that was Tim McGraw and Kenny Chesney. They both went to jail for that.
Wow.
Were they younger then?
I mean, by about 12 years. I mean, they weren't 18.
Okay. Well, it seems like your late 20s is maybe the kind of peak slap the horse's butt years.
I just don't think that guy should really be in jail.
Maybe a warning.
Yeah.
Maybe don't do that shit again.
I mean,
maybe
I could see like if he smacked the horse and then maybe
story.
They told him not to, and then he did it again. But yeah, I mean,
I think the 2 officers probably could have done a better job assessing the situation.
Oh, I'm leaving now. Okay, hit us with some more weird news. There's got to be more weird news.
All right, I got one more here. I don't know if that one's kind of silly. Oh, let's do this one. All right, so Michigan man says son, 6 years old, ordered $1,000 in food from Grubhub. A Michigan man says he was left with a $1,000 bill after his 6-year-old son ordered a virtual smorgasbord of food from several restaurants last weekend, leading to a string of unexpected deliveries. Keith Stonehouse said the food piled up quickly at his Detroit area home Saturday night after he let his son Mason use his cell phone to play a game before bed. He said the youngster instead used his father's Grubhub account to order food from one restaurant after another. The boy's mother told the Associated Press on Thursday that Grubhub has reached out to the family and offered them a $1,000 gift card. The company also is considering using the family in an online promotional campaign, she said. The boy's mother, blah, blah, blah. So Keith said he was alone with his son while his wife was at the movies, and Mason ordered jumbo shrimp, salads, chicken pita sandwiches, chili cheese fries, and other foods from one Grubhub driver after another, delivered the Chesterfield Township home. This was like something out of a Saturday Night Live skit. He added, I don't really find it funny yet, but I can laugh with people a little bit. It's a lot of money, and it kind of came out of nowhere.
Brian, what's your take on this?
I have a hard time believing a 6-year-old is capable of ordering multiple Grubhub orders, because there's got to be some sort of thing where you have to verify the order and put in a credit card, and you're going to order them for all. I don't know. It just doesn't ring true to me.
I
Yes,
say
yeah.
let's look at the facts. So Keith Stonehouse.
Where's this
wife
order
is
going
out.
to?
His wife is out,
Uh-huh.
correct?
Uh-huh.
His wife's gone, and it's him and his son. And he can't tell the truth to his wife because that won't work out. Blame the kid who can't really talk that good because he's young. He can't defend himself. He's not going to get in that much trouble. They're going to go, no
Yep.
phone for you, you know. I don't know what kids play on the phone these days. No Super Mario, but I don't know.
Mhm.
I'm withdrawn from reality. Sounds like me that Keith Stonehouse had a few too many hits of the jazz cabbage and had to lie to his wife, which we all know all stable relationships are built on lies.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I don't blame him there, but I don't believe it. Gary, what do you think?
That is a good I like that. You know what? That is a good possibility. I mean, that is
He's
yeah.
lying to his
I mean-
wife. It's simple.
Yeah. Because I mean, like I don't order from any of those, so I don't. Yeah, like you, Brian said, I don't know how it works. Like, do we need to verify or whatever doing that? So, like a 6-year-old that's just on there, just clicking different foods and different restaurants. Yeah, I like yours. That man was.
I have a 7-year-old. He's almost 8, like in 2 weeks. I don't think he'd be able to order Grubhub
Now, are either of you
on my
married?
phone.
Mm-hmm.
We're both married.
Yep.
You're both married.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not. Clearly, all the women leave me. If you listen to my records, you would know that. That wasn't a joke.
No.
That's not nice, Gary.
I know.
Yeah, rude.
I'm sorry.
Brian knew I was serious. He didn't laugh at all.
Sorry.
But
I laugh at everything.
you know, I've had a lot of wives. None of them were mine. But someone on my Facebook page posted that the other. I can't remember who it was, but I went, man, that's a good line. I'm gonna steal that. But if I had a wife, you know, and I ordered $1,000 worth of Grubhub because I was stupid,
Mm-hmm.
allegedly, we don't want to blame anyone for their, you know, some accidents are just gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're drunk and on drugs, he was probably drunk and on drugs, but some accidents are going to happen either way. That's a Trailer Park Boys for anyone who might be listening. You know, I would lie about it. I think I would lie about that. I would go, you know, it was the kid.
Yep.
She's not going to yell at the kid. Yeah, that guy's lying, I think.
Mhm.
I'm going to say allegedly, so he can't sue me.
There you go.
But I think that, you know, I think there's more to that story, and I think that the more is he might not be being totally truthful.
Well, I will admit too, it is easy to blame the kids for stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever blamed the children for something, Brian?
Oh
Be
yeah,
honest,
all the
don't
time,
lie.
all the time.
What's
'Cause
tell
you
the
could even
truth.
just-
What's the biggest thing you've ever blamed on the kids?
Oh jeez.
We're putting you
I
on the
don't-
spot.
I don't. There's just things you could always blame them. You know, if your wife comes home and like, why wasn't this done? You can just say, well, I told her to do it, but she didn't do it. You know what I'm saying?
So
You
what's
can
the
just
last thing that you were supposed to do that you didn't do that you blamed on the children?
Take out the garbage and the sink of dishes
How long ago was this?
this week.
Okay.
Now-
Seriously, what's the okay? I'll tell mine if y'all tell y'all's. What's the biggest lie you've ever told your significant other? I'm putting y'all on the spot here. Y'all don't have to do it. I'll tell y'all's mine. I'm not proud of mine. Mine's awful, but I'll tell the truth if y'all can decline.
I
think.
I don't think I
You can plead
really.
the fifth.
I haven't really told like any big whoppers.
You're a good man. I don't feel
Yeah.
the same about Gary. I don't see him on the
Well-
screen right now, but I feel like he's up to no good.
I'm married 20 years, Izzy. with 4 kids. So, there's got to be a certain level of honesty and
Transparency and
openness.
trust. That's
Yes,
it, man.
in order to make it, in order to make a marriage somewhat successful. Even, I mean, it's not all roses and chocolate covered strawberries either. But you have to have that openness and honesty to make it last. But I'm
I
still
agree with
interested in
that.
hearing your whoppers.
Well, let's see what Gary has to say.
I mean,
You can plead the fifth. No,
I don't know if
one
I've. I
holds
mean, I
against
don't have really any. I mean, I've lied about small things. Well, okay, so the one, but she did find out about it, and it was when I first moved down here. After we got married, we first moved down here, and I wasn't really kind of. I
Are
didn't
you
really
talking about
want
work?
to. Yes, I didn't really want to. I was kind of like, she wanted me to come down, check it out for a year, see how it was, and I'm like, all right, fine, whatever. So I got a job. I hated the job, so I quit the job and was still getting up in the morning and going to Denny's and getting breakfast and reading the paper to find jobs. I mean, this is 2004, so I mean, there was like really not too much with phones and things like that. So yeah, so I was newspapers going through articles, and I held that for, it had to be about at least 5 years later. She finally found out that I wasn't actually going to work, because then I would come home. I would go to the Denny's, and then I'd come home, and she'd be like, "Oh, you're home early." I'm like, "Yeah, that was slow. They sent me home." So yeah.
Wait a minute. How long did you fake this?
It was probably at least 3-4 months.
Gee, did you spend every day at the Denny's?
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Well, I'd go to a
Denny's.
Perkins every once in a while too, so I'd mix it up a little bit, So.
But they started to know you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the one lady at Denny's. She's like, "Oh," and she'd already have my coffee. She'd have it at the table. It was, I almost felt like I was working there. So,
But did she give you extra bacon?
you know what? I don't know. I would love extra bacon.
You were a regular at that point. She should have.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's
Well, it
probably
wasn't a Waffle House.
I was gonna say that's probably the biggest one. But yeah, it was probably.
You faked going to work for 4 months.
Yeah.
Isn't there a Malcolm in the Middle that's like that?
I don't know.
It's very George
You faked
Costanza.
going to work for 4 months. You got up. How long did you spend at a Denny's every day?
Not long, because that's why I said, like, I'd maybe go for like an hour or two, and then I'd come back, and then she'd be like, "Oh, you're home early." I'm like, "Yeah, they sent me home. We were short or slow today or whatever." Or then sometimes I would leave Denny's, and I would drive around some places, and oh yeah, I'd make some time up, but I'd always end up coming home early, or I'd know if she'd be going to work at a certain time. I'd be like,
they
okay,
could
well,
sneak home and
she's
be
going
like,
in at 10. I'll shoot home right then. So, oh yeah,
That's pretty terrible.
Yeah, it was.
And you're still married?
She found
How
out.
did she handle this?
It was
I'll
5
tell-
years
I'll tell
later.
you mine's way worse.
It was actually 5 years later. We were all out. A group of us were all out, and it wasn't a Denny's, but it was another breakfast place, the Egg Platter, and we were all. It was after a night of drinking. We were all out partying, and I spilt the beans, and she was like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, for those."
So you came clean. She didn't find out.
Yeah, no, yeah. I
Did
was
she
just
whoop
in a
your
drunken
ass right
stupor.
there
I
in
just
front of God and
basically I
everybody,
gave it
or-
up myself. So, oh yeah, good times.
She had to be furious about that.
She was a little, yeah, she was a little mad, but then she kind of just, everyone started laughing it up, and she was good there. It wasn't until we got home, then she was like,
Yes, she can't violently assault you
yeah.
in
Then
public.
I got it at home. So, but oh yeah,
How long were you in the doghouse over this?
it was a couple
he
weeks.
still might be.
Oh, that's
I've got a spare bedroom, man. Come on up.
all right. Not too far, a couple hours away.
The worst thing I ever did was significantly more cruel and tragic than that. And I've never talked about it publicly, but I'm going to do it for you guys. So, and she found out, like, we talked about it way after it happened. I was in an on again, off again relationship for about 8 years. It was terrible. We were awful to each other. She's at fault. I'm at fault. That nobody was innocent. If I ever write the book, I'm naming all the names because nobody was innocent. There's no names to change. So, she was going to beauty school. I'm a musician. We date beauty school students. It happens, and strippers. I've made some poor decisions, is all I'm here to tell you. So I ended up cheating on her. She was cheating on me, but I also cheated on her. And I'll be open about that. I don't care anymore. It doesn't matter. And I didn't realize that I was cheating on her with one of her classmates.
Oh,
Yeah, oof. Talk about an oops. So I have to go, and this is awful. I have to go to her orientation to beauty school the night that this all occurs. And I show up just in a state because there's been chicanery going on all day, of which I will not devolve or develve. I don't know what the right word is. I'm from Alabama.
divulge.
Divulge. That's it. I was wrong on both accounts. So, as things were winding down with the woman that wasn't my girlfriend, she mentioned that she was going to beauty school, and I went, "Oh my God, that's not good." And she mentions the same school that I'm about to go to an orientation to, and I go, "Well, that's even worse." Because there's a few in Huntsville. I was hoping she went to one of the others. And again, the woman I was dating, we later had another thing going on, and she found out about it, and we talked about it. So I don't feel terrible about telling this story. I feel awful about it because I'm skeevy. And like right now, there's a woman I'm talking to that I'm really into. She's an artist, and she's probably going to listen to this and go, "I hate you." But I might as well show my red flags early.
There you go.
So either way, so I'm in Atlanta several months after this has happened, cutting Commercially Inept, which Joey Huffman produced, which I had a hit top 50 hit off of called Rapid Decline. I'm in Atlanta, and it's after we're at the studio. I'm at Joey's house. I'm on the computer, and it was the time when Facebook introduced that weird on the desktop, the creeper bar, where you could see what everybody you were friends with, you'd see what they were all doing all the time. We all called it the creeper bar. And I saw that my current girlfriend, who was living at my house at the time, had become friends with the girl that, I had been seeing on the side.
And her classmate.
Yes. And I went, man, that's probably going to be bad. And I looked at Joey and I went, man, I might not can go home for a little while. And Joey basically just went, "You can stay here as long as you can. I've been in the same boat." And Joey has a book coming out in a few months. And he actually, I think the story is in there where he was playing SNL with a band. And he was, seeing this nice lady on the road. And he was dumb and he didn't have an unlisted phone number back in the 90s. So the woman that he was seeing called his house, found him in the phone book and called his house. It said he wasn't there, but his wife was, and she answered. So Joey tries to call home while he's in New York and the phone's disconnected. And he went, "Well, I guess I can't go home." So he ended up staying in New York for a while. But that was a similar situation. So Joey totally knew where I was coming from when I went, "I don't know if I can go home. Like I might have to stay here for a little while." And to be honest, I get back and I go back and I don't know what's waiting for me at home. Like I have no idea. I go, it could be the worst situation I've ever walked into. And again, I'm not proud of this. It was terrible. I still feel bad about it, but it happened. What are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
So I get home and my girlfriend at the time mentions the girl. And I go, "I don't know her, because why tell the truth at this point?" And she went, "Well, apparently she has been with some of your friends. And I thought she had been with you too, but she said she hadn't." And I went, "My God, I've never had a woman lie for me." you know, like that heavily. And she didn't find out about it for a long time, but about a year and a half later, we rekindled our relationship, and it was probably the worst thing that I could have done. And me and Joey Huffman were somewhere in Nevada. We weren't in Las Vegas. I don't remember where we were, but we were somewhere in Nevada, and we were very intoxicated. And I went, man, I think that I'm going to invite her to move back in with me. I think I'm in love with her. I think it's the best thing I could do at the time. And all of my friends at the time would have went, no, that's the worst idea you've ever had. You shouldn't do that. You're an idiot. Don't do that. But all I had as a moral compass was a very drunk Joey Huffman who went, and I quote, I'd probably do it. So I did. And that's when I learned that Joey doesn't make the best moral compass, because I'm not going to tell you how it ended, but it was cruel and tragic. So, you know, if Joey ever gives you advice, maybe do the opposite. He's telling you what he would do, but maybe that's not what you should do.
You want to do the opposite.
That's my best friend, you know. I love him. He's got I want to plug real quick. Joey's got a book coming out in April, I believe, called East of the Sun, Memoirs of an Accidental Rock Star. And I wrote the foreword for it. And it's a great, if you ever wanted to know what it's like being a musician seriously on the road, it is the best book I've ever read. Really captures the feeling of being on the road. And I don't know if Joey did that intentionally, or I don't know if that's just how he is, but it's very, very, very realistic. His writing style is great, and the way he lays it out, it's very realistic. Even there's parts of the book where you get bored, but you're bored on a tour bus. And I don't know anyone who's ever captured that feeling. I had to read the early edit of the book to write the foreword, and I don't think there was anyone who's ever captured that truly as good as Joey. And I've read pretty much all the good rock biographies and autobiographies, but man, Joey's is, and I sound biased, but I'm really not. Joey's is stellar. So check that out. You know, if you're listening, it'll be out soon.
Definitely, I'll check that out. I love reading, and I love reading, particularly, rock books.
You'll love Joey's, man.
Hammer of the Gods, all that stuff. Well, Izzy, I want to thank you for joining us tonight. I really enjoyed getting the chance to speak with you and learn about your career and learn about your music. Just to remind everyone listening, Izzy's new album, Izzy Miller Sings Extra Bacon and Other Chart-Topping Hits, will be streaming starting Friday, February 17th. And you can find Izzy on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, Napster. His Facebook page is Izzy Miller Official. That's IZZY MILLER Official. And his Instagram is at the Izzy Miller. Are you on Twitter as well, Izzy?
I am. I don't tweet much. I'm trying to. They tell me that I've got to. And
okay,
when people tell me that I have to do something, I tend to do the opposite.
All right. And
you forgot Pornhub.
Pornhub as well. Yes.
You got to look me up under my porn name, though. It's John Wang.
WANG.
Yeah. I do westerns.
Okay. And
Gary, that one. What's up, Gary?
I love that.
Let's go to the Denny's sometime.
Exactly.
Definitely, we got to meet up.
Hey,
hold on. So I'm at a Denny's one night, and I find this they serve me coffee in this coffee cup, and it's the best coffee cup of all time. And I go, do y'all sell these? And the waitress goes, no. And I went, well, I'm going to leave a large tip, and I'm just going to take this one. And she goes, I don't really care.
Yeah.
So I have this excellent Denny's coffee cup.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And on the other side, it says it's always sunny side up in a diner. And this is my favorite coffee cup. And if you don't learn anything from me, don't date strippers and always have a good coffee cup.
That's it.
That's what it means, man.
If you ever make your way back to Florida again, you have to look me up. We'll go to Denny's.
Well, if you ever need a place to crash, Huntsville, Alabama ain't that far.
All right,
I got a
nope.
spare bedroom, Gary. We'll get along.
All right, perfect. Sounds good to me.
All right. Thanks again.
Brian's like, man, this just went off the rails.
No, I'm having a blast. It's been really good. We hadn't talked until tonight, but I really enjoyed talking with you. I really enjoyed listening to the music on Spotify, and I'm looking forward to the new album coming out on the 17th. And hopefully we get to speak again, and maybe you hit the road and you're up in Pennsylvania at some point or down in Florida to visit Gary. And wish you nothing but success with the new album. And you seem like a really good guy, and I think you're going to go far. You're going to go places.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate y'all having me. I'm just glad someone wants to talk to me.
Anytime.
We had a good time. Good time.
All right. Any other last minute plugs you want to get in, Izzy?
Well, y'all's podcast is pretty good.
Oh, thanks.
Maybe listen to more episodes of this.
Yeah, listen to more episodes of the Brian Lennon Show on Substack.
If you don't like, you can quote me on this. If you don't like the Brian Lennon Show, fuck you. Like when Ricky Bobby, chewing Big Red.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'll have to see about putting that maybe on a shirt or something.
There we go.
Yeah, you can sell those.
Well, we appreciate you joining us. So again, check it out on the 17th. Izzy Miller sings Extra Bacon and other chart-topping hits. Thank you for joining us tonight on The Brian Lennon Show. We will see you again next week, and have a good night.